Next, Candy Somoza with The Mother's Apprentice.
My mother was a glamorous, confident woman with 4 children and an Air Force pilot husband. I gave her high marks for a fair hand, a good temper, and with my father, the creation of a loving home. Sure, we moved when my father got transferred, but no matter how often we packed up, we always settled easily because we took our best friends with us. In Massachusetts or Libya, our house was where all the kids gathered. My mother was the one my friends wanted for their own. Mom made it all look so easy. And then my father died in a plane crash, and everything changed. For a time, we kids barely saw our mother. Women from the squadron came in shifts to whisper in corners and keep us fed and quiet, always quiet, away from my mother's grieving. But we were grieving too. I don't think they realized how afraid we were. We had no father, and I wondered if we would ever get our mother back. We saw very little of her. When her bedroom door opened, we heard only sobbing before the door was closed again. She wasn't even in the room when a man in a uniform told us how strong we'd have to be for her. He told my gentle 12-year-old brother he'd have to be the man of the house, and I thought the man was crazy. I could see my brother couldn't do that any more than my 6-year-old brother or my 5-year-old sister could. It looked to me like I would have to take over. I was 10, but I was the strongest. I washed dishes, I fixed my sister's hair. I tried not to bother my mother, but I was in over my head. By the time my mother began to take care of us again, my faith in the very idea of safety was shaken. I clung to the idea that my mom could patch us up and make us what we had once been, somehow, through some mother's magic I wasn't wise enough to imagine. Months passed, and my faith in my mother slipped. When she brought home another husband, I was suspicious. I loved her, but I gave in to distrust. This new man was angry. He believed in yelling. He put his fist through a door. None of the old rules applied. And when I turned to my mother to sort him out, she said nothing. "I hate you," I shouted at her. What I learned about mothering changed. The world wasn't built on trust, so I'd better be prepared to keep my own children safe. When my future husband left, I'd better know how to carry the planets on my own shoulders because I couldn't rely on anyone else. I made vows and blood oaths, and my mother's practices became object lessons in what not to do. I only believed in my ability to calm babies and make toddlers smile. My children would never suffer as I had. And then I got pregnant, and I got married, and my daughter was born when I was 20 years old. Still young enough to know everything, and still fierce enough to believe it. The moment I saw my baby, I was content. I was happy when my mom came to care for us, a sweet memory of what she had once been, I thought, but I was glad to see her leave. One afternoon, not long after she left, I was changing a diaper when my daughter started to fuss. Her tiny fist jabbed at the air and her eyes closed in the most ordinary of moments. And I was struck with love for her that was so physically powerful I couldn't believe I was still standing. I picked her up and my knees buckled. I had to sit down. I already knew what I would do anything to keep her safe and happy, but I hadn't before felt the fear that accompanies revelation of a future filled with vital choices. Words, looks, permissions granted and withheld, all the thousands of imperfect actions to come. Over the years, sorrows and joys stacked up in an unequal measure with mistakes and successes. We celebrated and we mourned, and I learned my job. Mothers raise children to leave us. Children have to separate to survive us. And when they do, there can be tears. There will be tears. In one of those moments, my daughter and I danced dangerously close to our edge. Tempers flared, and my daughter cried, "I hate you," just as I had screamed at my mother. But I knew what to say to her. I told her what my mother had told me. "That's okay, Laura, because I love you enough for both of us, and nothing you can say or do will change that, and that will always be true."